The terror in Wren's eyes betrayed the bone-chilling fear that gripped the Una's Confederation at the mere presence of a human on their homeworld. Austin Coleman, seasoned diplomat and translator for the Terran Alliance, strode through the bustling spaceport, his arrival sending shockwaves through the gathered alien species. Hushed whispers and furtive glances followed his every step, a testament to the awe and trepidation that humans inspired across the galaxy. Wren, Austin's Una's counterpart, guided him through the throng of aliens, his anxiety palpable in the tense set of his shoulders. The Una's Confederation teetered on the brink of civil war, factions grappling for control, and the Terran Alliance had been summoned as a neutral mediator in a desperate bid for peace. Yet as they navigated the spaceport, Austin sensed an undercurrent of suspicion and fear directed towards him, hinting at a deeper unease surrounding human involvement. As they entered the diplomatic compound, Wren briefed Austin on the delicate nature of the summit, his words laced with a barely concealed undertone of urgency. The fate of the Una's Confederation hung in the balance, and failure to secure a peaceful resolution could plunge not only their world but the entire galaxy into chaos. Austin, his years of experience a steadying force, steeled himself for the challenges ahead, knowing that the power of mankind, both revered and feared, could tip the scales in this crucial moment. But as he prepared to step into the negotiation chamber, Austin couldn't shake the nagging feeling that there was more to this than met the eye. Secrets lurked beneath the surface, and he would need to use every ounce of his diplomatic prowess to unravel the truth and ensure that the Terran Alliance's involvement didn't inadvertently spark the very conflict they sought to prevent. The weight of responsibility settled heavily on his shoulders, a reminder that the power of mankind, so terrifying to the aliens, now rested in his hands. As Austin stepped into the negotiation chamber, the tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. Representatives from various Una's factions were already seated around the circular table, their eyes fixed on the human diplomat as he took his place beside Wren. The Una's leader, Xerox, wasted no time in launching his verbal assault. "Why are the humans here?" Xerox demanded, his deep voice reverberating through the chamber. "What do you hope to gain from our internal struggles?" Austin met Xerox's gaze unflinchingly. "The Terran Alliance is here as a neutral party, to facilitate peaceful negotiations and help resolve the conflict that threatens to tear your confederation apart." "Neutral?" Xerox scoffed. "I find that hard to believe. Your species has a history of meddling in the affairs of others, always seeking to further your own interests." Drawing upon his extensive knowledge of Una's history, Austin countered, "The Terran Alliance has a proven track record of impartial mediation. We helped broker the peace treaty between the Zorgans and the Kelpians, and we played a crucial role in ending the Andorian civil war. Our only interest is in promoting stability and preventing unnecessary bloodshed." As the debate raged on, Austin couldn't help but notice Wren's increasing discomfort. The Una's diplomat shifted nervously in his seat, his eyes darting around the room, avoiding contact with his fellow Unas. Something was amiss, and Austin was determined to find out what. During a brief recess, Austin pulled Wren aside, his voice low and urgent. "Wren, what's going on? You've been on edge since we arrived." Wren hesitated, his gaze flickering between Austin and the floor. "There are rumors, Austin. Whispers among the Unas that the humans possess a secret weapon, a technology so advanced that it could change the balance of power in the galaxy." Austin's brow furrowed. "A secret weapon? That's absurd. The Terran Alliance has no such thing." "Some believe that you intend to use this weapon to subjugate us, to bend the Una's Confederation to your will," Wren continued, his voice trembling slightly. "Others see it as a potential bargaining chip, something to be used to gain an advantage in the civil war." The revelation hit Austin like a punch to the gut. The mere belief in the existence of such a weapon could derail the entire summit, shattering the fragile trust between the Terran Alliance and the Una's Confederation. He knew he had to act quickly to dispel these rumors and prevent them from spreading further. The fate of not only the Unas, but the entire galaxy hung in the balance. As the summit reconvened, the atmosphere was tense. Many of the UNA's leaders eyed Austin with hostile suspicion. The rumors of humanity's secret weapon had sown seeds of paranoia and fear. Austin looked at Xerox from across the table. Raising his voice, Austin spoke. "I request a private meeting with Xerox. There are matters we must discuss urgently." Xerox narrowed his eyes but nodded. The two left the chamber and entered a small side room. "Xerox, I need you to be fully honest with me. Where did these rumors of a human superweapon originate?" Xerox sighed heavily. "They came from an UNA's known only as the Whisper. This shadowy figure has been spreading these tales far and wide, stoking unrest among my people. The Whisper claims to have evidence of this weapon." Austin's mind raced. This was worse than he thought. "Xerox, I have a plan. It's risky, but it may be our only shot. I want to meet this Whisper, to confront him directly and expose his lies. Will you take me to him?" Xerox hesitated. "You would be walking into the Viper's nest, Austin, but the Confederation is fracturing as we speak. We have no choice. I will bring you to the Whisper." They returned to the main chamber. Austin pulled Ren aside and quickly explained the plan. Ren's eyes widened. "Austin, this is madness, but you're right, we must do something. I'm coming with you." Austin clasped Ren's shoulder. "Thank you, my friend. Your presence will be invaluable." The trio made hasty preparations and set off into the heart of the UNA's capital. Austin couldn't shake the feeling that they were heading into grave danger, but the alternative, allowing these rumors to plunge the galaxy into war, was unthinkable. As they navigated the twisting streets, drawing ever closer to their meeting with the enigmatic Whisper, Austin steeled himself for whatever lay ahead. The fate of billions now rested on his shoulders. As the trio's transport skimmed low over the crumbling ruins of the industrial district, Austin's grip tightened on his pulse rifle. The abandoned factory loomed ahead, a decaying husk silhouetted against the crimson sky. Xerox guided the craft to a landing on the factory's cracked concrete pad, the engines whining as they powered down. Austin, Xerox, and Ren stepped out, their boots crunching on the rubble-strewn ground. The air was thick with the acrid tang of chemicals and decay. Austin's eyes scanned the area, his soldiers' instincts on high alert. They approached the factory's rusted doors, the metal groaning as Xerox heaved them open. Inside, the cavernous space was draped in shadows, the only light filtering in through shattered windows. Their footsteps echoed off the bare metal walls. Suddenly, floodlights snapped on, bathing the factory floor in harsh white light. Austin, Xerox, and Ren froze, shielding their eyes. As their vision adjusted, they saw a group of heavily armed UNAs emerge from the shadows, weapons trained on the trio. A cloaked figure stepped forward, his face obscured by a hood. "Welcome, Ambassador Coleman," the figure said, his voice distorted by a modulator. "I am the Whisper." Austin lowered his rifle slightly, keeping his finger near the trigger. "I'm here to talk, Whisper. These rumors about a human superweapon are false. No such weapon exists." The Whisper laughed, a grating electronic sound. "You expect me to believe that? The mighty Terran Alliance with no secrets." He produced a data chip, holding it up. "This says otherwise." Austin's eyes locked on the chip. "What's on that chip?" "Evidence," the Whisper hissed. "Proof of your deception. Hand over the weapon and your UNA's friends live." "There is no weapon," Austin shouted, his voice echoing off the metal walls. "You're being manipulated, can't you see that?" The Whisper's hand dropped to his sidearm. "Last chance, human, the weapon now." Xerox tensed, his hand inching towards his own weapon. Ren's eyes darted between the Whisper and Austin, fear etched on his face. Suddenly a burst of plasma fire erupted from the shadows behind them. Xerox's bodyguards, who had discreetly followed the trio, charged into the factory, weapons blazing. The factory exploded into chaos. The Whisper's followers returned fire, plasma bolts scorching the air. Austin dove for cover, dragging Ren down with him. Xerox crouched nearby, firing measured bursts at the attackers. In the confusion, Austin saw the Whisper fleeing, the data chip still in his hand. With a burst of speed, Austin lunged, tackling the Whisper to the ground. They grappled, rolling across the factory floor. Austin wrenched the chip from the Whisper's grasp and scrambled to his feet. "Austin," Xerox yelled over the din of battle. "We have to go now." Austin sprinted back to his companions, plasma bolts sizzling past his head. They burst out of the factory, running for their transport, as the firefight raged behind them. As they lifted off, speeding away from the chaos, Austin looked at the chip in his hand. This tiny piece of data held the key to unraveling the web of lies threatening to plunge the galaxy into war. He turned to Xerox and Ren, his face set with resolve. "We need to get this back to the summit. It's time to expose the Whisper and his deception before it's too late." Austin hunched over the console in the dimly lit room, his fingers flying across the holographic interface as he worked to decrypt the data chip. Xerox and Ren stood nearby, the tension palpable in the air. The fate of the Una's Confederation, and perhaps the entire galaxy, hinged on the secrets locked within that tiny piece of technology. Hours passed, the only sound the hum of the equipment and the occasional beep as Austin made progress. Suddenly, the console flashed green, and a flood of data filled the screen. Austin's eyes widened as he scanned the information, a mixture of disbelief and horror etched on his face. "What is it?" Xerox demanded, stepping closer. "What have you found?" Austin turned to face them, his expression grim. "The Whisper is not Una's, he's Zephyr." Ren gasped, his eyes widening. "That's impossible. The Zephyr have been extinct for millennia." Austin shook his head. "Not extinct, hiding. And they developed a weapon, a doomsday device capable of destroying entire star systems." He gestured to the data on the screen. They hid it away and faked their own extinction, fearing what would happen if such power fell into the wrong hands. Xerox's face darkened. "And the Whisper, what does he want with this weapon?" "He's a fanatic," Austin explained. "He wants to manipulate the Unas into believing that humans have this weapon, to spark a war that will weaken both sides. Then the Zephyr can emerge from hiding and reclaim their place as the dominant species." Silence fell over the room as the weight of this revelation sank in. Finally, Xerox spoke, his voice low and determined. "We must stop him. The Una's Confederation must know the truth." Austin nodded. "I have a plan, but we'll need to act fast." Minutes later, they stood before the gathered Una's delegates, the tension in the room thick enough to cut with a knife. Austin stepped forward, the data chip in hand. "Delegates of the Una's Confederation," he began, his voice ringing out clear and strong, "I come before you with evidence of a deception that threatens not just your people, but the entire galaxy." He inserted the chip into the console, and the truth spilled out before them. Gasps and murmurs filled the room as the delegates realized the extent of the Whisper's lies. Xerox stepped forward, his presence commanding attention. "We have been manipulated, brothers and sisters, turned against each other by one who seeks to destroy us all." He turned to Austin, respect and gratitude in his eyes. "But thanks to our human allies, the truth has been revealed. Now we must unite against this threat." As the delegates voiced their agreement, Austin felt a surge of hope. The divisions that had threatened to tear the Unas apart were healing, replaced by a sense of common purpose. But their work was far from over. They had to act fast before the Whisper could complete his plan. Austin turned to Xerox. "We need to strike now while we have the element of surprise. Can your forces be ready?" Xerox nodded. "They will fight alongside yours, Austin, the Unas and humans together." Within hours, a combined strike force of human and Unas soldiers stood ready, their weapons primed and their resolve unshakable. Austin and Xerox led the charge as they stormed the Whisper's hidden base, deep in the heart of the Unas wastelands. The firefight was intense, plasma bolts scorching the air as they clashed with the Whisper's fanatical followers. But the united front of humans and Unas proved too strong, and they pushed forward, deeper into the complex. As they breached the central chamber, they found themselves face to face with the Whisper himself, standing before a massive, pulsing machine, the ancient Zephyr weapon partially completed and thrumming with barely contained energy. "You're too late," the Whisper sneered, his hand hovering over the activation panel. "With this I will bring the galaxy to its knees." But before he could act, Xerox charged forward, tackling the Whisper to the ground. They grappled, locked in a deadly struggle as Austin raced to the weapon's control console, his mind racing as he tried to make sense of the alien technology. Suddenly, a cry of pain pierced the air. Austin turned to see Xerox stumbling back, a gaping wound in his side. The Whisper, battered but triumphant, stood over him, a bloody knife in his hand. "No!" Austin yelled, raising his weapon. But before he could fire, an alarm blared from the console. The weapon, damaged in the fight, was overloading, its energy core unstable. "It's going to blow," Austin shouted. "We have to get out of here." But Xerox, struggling to his feet, shook his head. "No, I will not make it. You must go, Austin. Save our people." Austin hesitated, torn, but the look in Xerox's eyes brooked no argument. With a heavy heart, he nodded, turning to the others. "Fall back! Evacuate the base!" As the strike force retreated, Austin turned back to the console, his fingers flying over the controls. He had to buy them time, to give them a chance to escape. The weapon's energy levels were spiking, the core temperature reaching critical levels. Austin gritted his teeth, sweat pouring down his face as he fought to contain the impending blast. Xerox, his life fading, looked up at Austin. You have the strength of a true leader, Austin. The courage of a friend. It has been an honor." "Austin?" His eyes stinging with tears, clasped Xerox's hand. "The honor was mine, Xerox. Your sacrifice will not be forgotten." With a final nod, Xerox closed his eyes, his breath stilling. Austin, his heart heavy, turned back to the weapon, his resolve hardening. He would not let Xerox's death be in vain. The base shook as the weapon's power reached a crescendo, the very foundations of the complex starting to crack and crumble. Austin, his hands a blur over the controls, fought to redirect the energy, to channel it away from the escaping ships. Seconds ticked by, each one an eternity, and then with a final desperate command, Austin slammed his hand down on the console. The world went white. Miles above, the strike force watched in awe as a pillar of light erupted from the base, a searing lance that pierced the very heavens. The shockwave hit them moments later, the ships rocking and tumbling as they fought to maintain control. And then silence. The light faded, the dust settled, the base was gone, reduced to a smoldering crater. Of Austin there was no sign. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.